Hi, I'm John McEnroe. I'm on Sport, and this is my Wimbledon story.
Perfect. First question. Heading into tournament in 1981, you'd obviously lost an 80 final. How determined were you to bounce back?
Well, I was extremely determined. I felt like I should have won the match in 80. I was taught a few lessons there by my opponent, my buddy and rival BJÖRN Borg, that I had to get fitter and how to be tougher mentally and figure out a way to dig deeper, because he had done that. You know, I thought after I won the fourth set in 80 that I was going to win that match, and he found another gear and I didn't. So, and he had won it 4 straight times. So I would have thought he would have let off the gas. So that taught me something about what great champions can do. And I think I was able to apply that more effectively the next year. It's the same thing that was going through my head every other time that it went off the chalk and was called out. That's probably, you know, my dad was my manager at the time. So he said, he'd always say to me, John, you don't need to, you know, question line calls, you know, just go out and play. You're better than that. You're better than that. He'd say it a little bit louder, like, you're better than that, you know. I remember he was a lawyer, my dad, and he said to me, but if you do get mad at the umpire or linesman, and you want to say something, just don't curse at them. There's nothing they can do. So that's where the "you cannot be serious" came from. It was sort of like, there's not a lot they can do as long as I kept it PG. So that's where I was at that point, even though I knew once I sort of got into it there that I dug a even deeper hole for myself, that the press was really going to be on me now, and that's exactly what happened throughout the rest of the tournament. I felt I should have won it the previous year. I felt like I had the game to win it a couple years before, but I had tightened up and hadn't quite figured it out yet. But I felt like if I could just get to the finals and have a rematch, that I would have learned from the previous experience, the previous match. And so there was relief. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was even thinking, I was like, hey, look, if I just win this, the hell with it. I'm never coming back. I've had enough. I can't handle this anymore. The hell with these people. And then I ended up playing BJÖRN, and I could just focus on the match. And I was able to do that and come back from a couple tough spots. And I remember winning, and when I started to go down to my knees, I was like, okay, this is amazing. But Borg had done it the previous, so I said, I can't do that thing. I sort of sprung back up. But I did feel for that brief moment after I won for a minute that I could fly. I could have flown out of the stadium. It was just an unbelievably sweet feeling and an incredible relief as well. He was considered, like, in a way, the Rafael Nadal of the tour at that time. He was the fittest guy on tour, so you felt like the longer the match went, the more difficult it would be to win it. I felt like I was capable of going the distance if I had to, but it wasn't certainly something I wanted to do. But it was the opponent I wanted to play, and I wanted to be able to beat him there. So that was satisfying that I had that opportunity. It was a set all. I was down a couple set points late in the third set. That was the moment, I believe, where I was able to keep my composure, keep my cool, get through that, win the set. And I felt like, okay, you got it now. If you just stick with it, you can get it done. And that was, it was something that you never take anything for granted in a sports, obviously. And particularly when you're out there by yourself, things can happen in a hurry. But it did feel like all that effort and experience that I'd learned from the previous couple years, but obviously the match we had played the year before in particular was huge for me. You know, I was becoming validated as, you know, one of the great players that play tennis, and that's a phenomenal feeling. I mean, that's like a dream come true. I mean, I don't even think when I was a kid that I thought, okay, I'm going to be a great champion. I mean, you just want to sort of get into the US Open or make it to Wimbledon. I mean, that seemed like a faraway place on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean that you could only dream about. And I remember seeing Borg, and he was a kid. He was probably 15 at the time. And there was the old locker room, and there literally were like hundreds of girls screaming, a la, you know, when the Beatles came to the States for the first time, or when they were performing live. And I remember thinking to myself, I want to be a tennis player. If somehow I could have any part of that, it would be amazing. And ironically, no one's you've never seen that before or since at Wimbledon or really anywhere else. There was something magical about Borg I mean, he's obviously a great-looking guy and a great player, but there was an aura about him that was really cool. And for me, it's amazing that my great rival turned out to be him, and that we're still great friends all these years later.